You're listening to the Sean and Drew Podcast, Episode 1. Hello and welcome to Episode 1 of the Sean and Drew Podcast. I'm Sean. Drew, say hi. No, Sean! I told you I don't want to do this! Drew, for the third time, the microphone doesn't make you sound like a girl, okay? Sean, you promised you wouldn't mention that on the air! Oh yeah, I did, didn't I? Oh well. Sean! We got a great show in store for you tonight, folks. We've got some mail that we're going to read from fans, a special guest at the end of the show, and even a hike through the woods in store. Hey, remind me to bring my fishing rod, okay, Drew? Wait, you're going fishing? I was planning on it, yeah. There's a small pond just off the trail that I've been dying to fish lately. With hooks? What? With hooks. Are you going to use hooks? Yeah, that's usually how one catches fish. Well, okay, but I'm warning you, Sean. My friends at PETA will find out about this. Oh, I'm scared. Good. You should be. Not really. Couldn't care less, to be honest. Drew? Drew, are you crying? Don't hurt the fish, Sean! Alright, let's read some mail, shall we? Lucas in Pennsylvania writes, Hey y'all, I've got a question for you both. What are your thoughts on Trump being nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize? P.S. Hey Drew, I got one thing to say. You might want to upgrade your safe space now with this podcast. Trump 2020. I don't like that guy, Sean. What? Why not? He seems like a nice guy. He spoke his name! He spoke his name! Okay, well, to answer your question, Lucas, I think it's great that Trump's nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. I think he's demonstrating that peace through strength is the winning strategy. He's completely stamped out the Islamic State, he stood up to Kim Jong-un and the North Koreans, and more recently, he's made the Middle East a little bit safer for our allies in Israel. So yes, I think he definitely deserves to be considered for the Nobel Peace Prize. Plus, his nomination is making the liberals go nuts, so, that's always a plus. Well, I don't think he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize, Sean. I think nobody cares. Next, we've got a question from someone with the username Bacon's Bacon. Hey guys, what's the best way to counter someone who is for abortions with facts and logic? Well, as a proud snowflake, I prefer to stay far away from facts and logic. Maybe you could answer this question, Sean. Sure. So the most common argument I hear from people who are pro-choice is that a woman should have the right to choose what she does with her own body. The problem with this argument is that the fetus growing inside her isn't her own body. It's a separate, independent life. There's your logic. As far as facts are concerned, I would just remind your pro-choice friend that almost 54% of abortions occur from 7 to 12 weeks, when a baby already has a developing nose, mouth, ears, intestines, brain waves, touch response, hiccups, a beating heart, and more. Well, that may be true, Sean, but Planned Parenthood is here to stay, so just deal with it, Sean. Drew, you do realize that Planned Parenthood is responsible for over 325,000 abortions per year, right? That's about 900 babies being killed every day. I told you I don't like facts and logic, Sean! Right, let's move on. Ethan asks, what do you guys think about the Los Angeles police shooting and BLM blocking them from the hospital? Well, based on when you submitted this question, Ethan, I'm assuming you're talking about the police officers who were shot during an ambush attack on September 13th. For those of you listening who haven't heard about this, let me read part of a news article from BBC. Quote, 2 Los Angeles police officers are recovering in the hospital after being shot in what police are calling an ambush. Video of the incident shows a figure approach the officer's vehicle before opening fire and running away. The article goes on to say, quote, protesters shouted anti-police slogans and blocked the entrance to the emergency room where the 2 officers were being treated, police and witnesses say. 2 people were arrested, including a journalist who police said tried to interfere with the arrest of the other detainee and did not identify himself as a member of the press. Yeah, listen, let me just get this on the record. I am so disgusted by this anti-cop sentiment that seems to be sweeping across the country right now. Police officers are being ridiculed, harassed, and in some cases attacked, all for trying to protect their communities and keep the people safe. I think they deserve nothing but respect from all of us. Well, except for the police officer that pulled me over on the highway last month. I didn't like him very much at all. What? You didn't tell me about this. What happened? Well, I was driving home from one of my Snowflake United meetings and I passed a house that had a Trump sign out front. When I started to cry, my vision got blurry and I swerved into a mailbox. Is that what caused the dent on your front bumper? You told me you accidentally crashed your grocery cart into it. Well, now you know the truth, Sean. I hit a mailbox and got pulled over by a police officer. You know, Drew, it sounds to me like all of this was your fault. What do you have against the police officer? I mean, he was just doing his job. He was carrying a gun on him, Sean! Ah, now I get it. And seeing the gun triggered you, right? Yeah, I started crying even harder than before, swerved off the road again, and hit another mailbox. Wait, you hit 2 mailboxes? I don't want to talk about it anymore, Sean. Fair enough. Let's read one more email from CJ in North Carolina, who writes, I'm a big fan of the show. I wanted to know, or Sean, if you could ask Drew, when is he going to upgrade that save space? Because I have a few suggestions. My save space is perfectly fine as is, thank you very much. No, it's not. Why would you say that, Sean? Drew, it's a cardboard box. Your safe space is literally a cardboard box from that new washing machine we ordered last year. Well, you may see a cardboard box, Sean, but to me, it's a safe haven from everything that triggers me. Alright, great. So, do you have any plans for upgrades? You bet I do. 2 words, Sean. Cat litter. You can't be serious right now. I am serious. One day I want to have the entire floor of my safe space covered in a thick layer of cat litter. You know, for when my diapers are defective. Okay, I did not need to know that. Well, there you go. In any event, thank you all so much for your emails. If you're interested in submitting a comment or question that you want read live on the podcast, send an email to jasonveely76@gmail.com. That's JAYSONVELEY76@gmail.com. Wait, Sean, who's Jason Veely? What? Oh, just a friend of mine, doesn't matter. Does he support the president? Oh, yeah. Then I don't like him! Alright, Drew, you ready for the hike? Well, I'd much rather be in my safe space right now, but I guess so. Great, let's just go through our backpacks one more time and make sure we're not forgetting anything. Let's see, I've got my pocket knife, some snacks, a bottle of water, a map of the area in case I lose cell service, a container of live worms for bait, and my fishing rod. I think that's everything. What are you bringing, Drew? Take a look for yourself, Sean! Drew, your backpack is filled with diapers. I know! 12 to be exact. Do you think that'll be enough? Well, I don't see how anything can possibly trigger you while we're out in the woods, so yeah, I think 12 will be plenty. Good. I hope so. But Drew, don't you want to bring anything else? Water, food, anything? Actually, now that you mention it, there is something else that I wanted to bring, Sean. I have him right here in the front of my backpack. Jeffrey, you're bringing your stuffed animal with you? He's not a stuffed animal, Sean. He's my friend and I love him. Great. So, God forbid we find ourselves in a serious survival situation, you'll have 12 diapers and a stuffed lion. Sounds good to me. Alright, well, on that note, let's start walking. Hey, Sean, when are we gonna get there? Get where? I don't know, wherever we're going. What? Drew, we're not going anywhere. Haven't you ever been on a hike before? Nope, can't say I have. God, you have got to get out more. Drew, there's really no destination for a hike. You just make your way through the woods and take it all in. Take what in, Sean? Everything around you. There, for example, that beautiful cardinal up in the tree. You don't see that sort of thing by just sitting at home all day. Or, I guess in your case, sitting in your safe space. Oh yeah, I see it up there. It's kind of cute. I think I'm gonna go get a closer look and see if I can get a picture. Alright, just don't stray too far off the trail. Bobcats are pretty hungry for snowflakes around this time of year. Wait, what? I'm joking. Go get the picture. Okay, I'll just creep a little closer. A little closer. Sean! Did that bird just take a dump on your head? Please tell me that bird just took a dump on your head, because honestly, that would just make my whole day. I don't like nature very much, Sean! Well, hey, maybe you should have given the bird one of your 12 diapers to wear. That's not funny! Oh, it got on my glasses, too! I spent $5 at Walmart for these, Sean! Alright, Drew, well, we've been hiking for about an hour now. How about a little break? Yeah, that sounds good. Did you bring any soy-free gelatin cubes? Nope. I've got water and some jerky. You're welcome to have some if you want. No thank you, Sean. I don't think PETA would approve of me chewing on some dehydrated cow meat, thank you very much. Fine, suit yourself. Do you want some water, or is that against some weird liberal diet too? Is it organic, soy-free, gluten-free, and non-GMO? Yes, because it's water. Then that's fine, Sean. I'll take a bottle. Okay then. Lucky for you, I brought 2. Here you go. Thanks, Sean. Much better. Hey, wait a minute, Sean. I think this fell out of your backpack. Oh, that's my container of worms. I need it for fishing later. Give it here. Hang on just a minute, Sean. Let me take a look at these worms. Okay. How many do you have in here? 18. So you mean to tell me that you're gonna murder 18 innocent worms just so you can catch some fish? Yeah. Haven't you heard what they call me on the streets? What do they call you? I'm the worm killer. Okay, well, Sean, I'm not gonna let that happen. As a symbol of my love and compassion towards the animals of the earth, I'm gonna take one of these worms and raise it as my own. Alright. Hey, if I let you keep one of them, will you give me back the rest? I guess so. Alright, here's the container. I'll just keep this little guy for myself. I'm going to name him Wormy. Great. You enjoy your new pet, and I'll save the rest to impale with a hook. Aw, look at him, Sean. He's kinda cute, don't you think? Though if I'm being honest, I think he'd look even better hanging out of a bass's mouth. Quiet, Sean. It's okay, Wormy. You just ignore him. Whoa, no way! Drew, look, it's a bald eagle. You want me to glance up at the bird that represents a country founded on racism and genocide? I don't think so, Sean! Okay, first of all, you're dead wrong about America's history. But come on, just look. It's pretty impressive. Sean, I'll say it again. I'm not gonna look at... Oh, come on! Not again! Sean, my feet are starting to hurt. Well, I told you it was going to be a long hike. You shouldn't have come with me if you didn't think you could handle it. I can handle it, Sean! I'm just saying that my fragile snowflake legs aren't used to this much walking. Alright, well, let's have a conversation to get your mind off it. Great idea, Sean! What should we talk about? Conservatism. No! Guns? No! Okay, how about Donald Trump? No, Sean! Well, then I'm all out of ideas. Oh, I know! How about we go back and forth and list as many genders as we can? Hey, that's a great idea, Drew. I'll start. Male, female. Well, that was fun. Sean, you forgot about the other 428 genders. Alright, Drew, how about this? Let's say you had to spend a month in these very woods. How would you survive? How would I survive? Yeah. Take note of your surroundings and tell me the very first thing you would do. Well, I don't know, Sean. Usually the first thing I do when I'm afraid is assume a fetal position and try to block out thoughts of Republicans. Okay, well, we're not talking about Republicans, and folding into a fetal position isn't an option. Come on, tell me how you'd survive. Would you look for food first? Maybe try to build a shelter? Well, I guess I would need to build a safe space as soon as possible. Great, so you have shelter. Now what about food? Oh, that's an easy one, Sean. You see those pine cones up in that tree? Yeah. Well, considering I'm a proud vegan, I think I'd just eat one of those every day. Oh. Yeah, that sounds tasty, Drew. Why, Sean? What would you eat? Well, I saw a rabbit a while back. Maybe a deer if I could manage to hunt one somehow. Sean, why are you so mean to animals? I'm not mean to animals, Drew. I believe that God put certain animals here on Earth for us humans to eat. Besides, you're not exactly one to talk. You've been carrying that worm around in your pocket for 2 hours. Wormy! I forgot about him! Yeah, I know you did. Oh, Sean, he's not moving very much. Wormy? Wormy, are you okay, buddy? Kinda looks like a soggy piece of spaghetti. Stop it, Sean! I'm sure Wormy will be just fine. I'll just hold him in my hand for the rest of the hike. Great, you do that. Come on, the fishing hole is just up ahead. Isn't this great, Drew? There's nothing better than a pond in the middle of nowhere. I see some lily pads, a couple of downed trees. Oh, man. I bet this place is loaded with bass. What's a bass? What? It's a type of fish, Drew. You couldn't have figured that out using context clues? I'm not a fisherman, Sean, and I never will be. Yeah, believe me, I know. Hey, can you hand me my box of worms out of my backpack? You want your worms? Well, I brought them specifically for fishing, and I'm fishing right now, so yeah. Okay, Sean. Here you go. Cool, thanks. Drew, there's no worms in here. Do you know what happened to the worms, Drew? I snuck into your backpack when you were peeing and dumped them out, Sean. You what? Wormy told me that he couldn't stand the idea of his friends turning into fish bait. I had to free them, Sean. I just had to. Well, that's just great, Drew. I was all excited to try out this new pond, and now I have nothing to use as bait. Hey, wait a minute. No, Sean. Don't even think about it. Give me Wormy. Back off, Sean. Wormy's my pet, and I love him. Correction, he was your pet, and now he's going to be bass food. Sean, there's no way I would ever give you Wormy. We've been through so much together. He's the best worm a self-identified guy could ever ask for. Drew, either you give me the worm, or I'm going to paint Trump 2020 across the front of your safe space. No, don't do that. I don't know if my fragile snowflake heart would be able to take it. Oh, believe me, I know. So, why don't you make it easy on yourself and just give me the worm? Fine. Please forgive me, Wormy. Thank you. There, that wasn't so hard now, was it? I'll just bait up the hook like so, and... Do you think he'll be okay, Sean? What, you mean the worm? Oh, no, he's a goner. He'll either be swallowed by a big bass or picked apart by a bunch of smaller fish. Either way, I'd hate to be on the other side of that line. I didn't need you to tell me all that, Sean. Worms have feelings too, you know. Okay, first of all, Drew, it's a worm, okay? Just a worm. Get over it. And second, why do you always... Oh, here we go. Feels like I got one. Wow, would you look at that? A nice fat largemouth. What do you think, Drew? Maybe 3 pounds? Well, I hope you're happy, Sean. Because of you, an innocent worm was just murdered in cold blood. Yeah, you're right. But then again, I did catch a big fish, so... I guess that's true, Sean. This is a pretty looking fish after all. Can I pet it? You know, Drew, I've been fishing for years, and this is the first time I've heard someone ask if they can pet a largemouth bass. But, yeah, I guess so. Go for it. Hi there, Mr. Fish. I'm Drew. Oh! What happened? He started to flop around! Well, I mean, it's a fish, Drew. That's kind of what they do. It won't be moving around like this for that long, though. What's that supposed to mean? Oh, nothing. Don't worry about it. On a completely unrelated note, you don't have any dinner plans for tonight, do you? Sean, are you gonna eat the fish? Sean, why are you smiling like that? Answer me, Sean! Well, that was fun, don't you think, Drew? Don't talk to me, Sean! Sorry, folks, he's still a little upset at the whole worm situation. And the fish, Sean! You cut the head right off and then threw the meat in the freezer! It didn't even stand a chance! And on that note, let's move on. We do have a special guest coming up in just a few minutes, but first, I wanted to spend a little time talking about the media and how it's desperately trying to discredit Donald Trump in the lead up to the election. Now, I don't know about you, Sean, but I actually like the media. Well, of course you do, Drew, because you're a radical liberal that hates Donald Trump, and the media is full of radical liberals that also hate Donald Trump. It's a match made in heaven. That's not why, Sean! Well, actually, yeah, that makes sense. So let me start by saying that it should be obvious to everyone with half a brain that the purpose of the mainstream media is no longer to report the news. That hasn't been the case for a long, long time. Today, especially with Donald Trump in office, the purpose of the mainstream media is really to discredit the president and his supporters, and to advance a liberal agenda. Sean, I'm not exactly sure what you just said, but I'm listening anyway. Good, Drew, maybe you'll learn something. I also think it's worth mentioning here that the whole reason our founding fathers included the freedom of the press in the Constitution was to create an additional check on the government. The idea was that if a government were to arise that was constantly feeding the people lies and propaganda, the media would be there to break through the disinformation and provide the people with the truth. But Sean, isn't that what the mainstream media does today? I mean, for example, last night I heard CNN say that Donald Trump is secretly a Russian spy sent here to destroy the United States. You're telling me that that was a lie? Of course that was a lie, Drew, and that leads me to my main point. Today, liberal networks like CNN, NBC, CBS, and MSNBC don't think twice about deliberately lying to the American people in order to, as I said before, discredit the president and advance their liberal agenda. The media doesn't work for the people anymore as the founders intended. It works against them by telling them lies night after night. This is why I applaud the president for calling the media the enemy of the people. Sean, did I ever tell you about the time I tried to start my own news network? It was called SNN, Snowflake News Network. Sounds terrible. What happened to it? We had to shut it down. I found myself talking about he who must not be named way more than I would like. I was going through too many diapers. And by he who must not be named, you mean Donald Trump, right? Oh, come on, Sean! Now I have to go change my diaper. Great, and while you go off to your safe space to do that, I'll finish up what I was saying. The liberal media has absolutely no shame today. And as we get closer to the election, it's only going to get worse. Look at what happened just a few weeks ago when The Atlantic came out with an unsubstantiated story alleging that the president referred to people who died in World War II as losers and suckers. The story cited anonymous sources, but that was still enough for the liberal television networks and newspapers to take the story and run with it, making a quote-unquote bombshell report out of nothing at all. Even when multiple sources, including John Bolton, who, by the way, despises Donald Trump, came out and said that the president never said that about our military, the media still pushed the story, not once stopping to consider whether or not it was actually true. Okay, I'm back. Remind me to go to the store after this, Sean. I'm running low on Huggies. Already? You just bought 3 boxes yesterday. I've been getting triggered a lot lately, Sean. Okay, well, let me just raise one more point before we bring on our special guest. You know, it's almost laughable how the media thinks that all of these attacks will hurt the president's chances of getting reelected. They are so blind to the fact that most of Trump's supporters, myself included, consider them to be completely irrelevant. The media thinks that they have far more influence over the American people than they really have. And we really have President Trump to thank for all that. The guy has exposed the fake news media more than any Republican politician ever has before. So, no, I don't think that the media is having any real influence over the president's re-election campaign. In fact, I would even argue that each time they launch a new attack, it actually helps Trump's chances. People are so sick and tired of the fake news and the dishonesty from the media that many will get out and vote for Trump just as a way to hold up a metaphorical middle finger to CNN, MSNBC, and their ilk. Well, that's not very nice, Sean. No, what's not nice is lying to the American people and trying to advance a political agenda under the guise of breaking news. Now, tell me, Drew, after hearing all of that, are you going to keep watching CNN and MSNBC every night? You bet I am, Sean. Of course you are, because you're a liberal and you're incapable of learning. Let's go ahead and bring on our special guest for tonight. You all know him from his articulate and thought-provoking videos on TikTok, and at times, even rocking a Santa hat. Please welcome TopherTownMusic.
What's up, Sean and Drew? Nice to meet you too. And I'm honored to be the first person y'all get to interview for your podcast. I've truly been enjoying your content on TikTok, and to really get in depth and talk to the masterminds behind that is going to be exciting, and I'm looking forward to this.
Well, listen, brother, it's our pleasure. We're really looking forward to it too. Psst, Sean, is he going to trigger me? Well, Drew, considering that pretty much every single fact ever spoken by a conservative has triggered you, I'd say yes. So, Topher, before we get into some politics here, would you mind just kind of telling us a little bit about yourself?
Well, now that I've been blessed with the opportunity to become a full-time content creator, I've started to focus more on my passion for music. Most of my audience knows me for my unique presentation of current events on TikTok and Instagram, but I'm a beast with the pen and pad too. Don't forget that. Honestly, it's the most fulfilling part of my day though. I've written and performed music for almost the entirety of my life, so to see that I'm finally gaining traction in arguably the most pivotal election cycle I've lived through is amazing and gives a higher sense of purpose to my gifts and talents. Other than that, I'm pretty busy kicking butt on Warzone and building a connection with my supporters.
That's really awesome, man. I'm so happy to hear that your music career is starting to take off. You just have so much raw talent with so many different things that it really isn't a surprise to me that you're as successful as you are. And by the way, we definitely have to play Warzone together sometime. I think that would be a blast. Sean, what's Warzone? It's Call of Duty, Drew. Remember that video game that you tried out earlier this year and then stormed off when you accidentally blew yourself up with a grenade? Oh yeah! I hated that game. You hated it because you were absolutely god-awful. So, Topher, when did you first join TikTok, and what made you want to start creating content?
My very first time hearing about TikTok was when I was in Anaheim, California for VidCon 2019. I know there's a lot of folks doing some weird dances and stuff. I didn't understand it, and also I didn't give it much thought until after I got back from a trip. Even still, I didn't create an account until later that year in October, and that was just to post a video as part of the contest hosted by Andy Mineo. Will Smith used his song Coming In Hot as the sound for his very first TikTok, so he wanted to keep the momentum going by getting more and more videos done. Unfortunately, after posting that one video, I never opened the app again until mid-November. I do, however, have a background in video editing and graphic design, so my initial intent was to showcase my ability to create entertaining content. But it quickly changed once I came across a TikTok that was just full of fake news, man. If it's one thing that drives me nuts, it's the attempts by influencers and media to deceive the American people. My first political video has transformed my entire journey in life. It's not that I wasn't politically acute before. Instead, I refrained from expressing my opinions due to the negativity I received from my family and friends. Eventually, I just decided that I wouldn't let that hold me back anymore because I realized how important it was for me to get my message out there.
Well, I'm totally with you there. I mean, it's so easy for big-name influencers to just sit down in front of a camera and post a political video full of lies. Then before you know it, tens of thousands or maybe even millions of people are consuming inaccurate information. But I actually had a similar start to TikTok as you did. I joined the app just to kind of show off some of my creativity, and then quickly got into the political scene and found TikTok to be really a great channel to promote conservative principles. And speaking of conservatism, let me ask you this. Have you always been a conservative?
Looking back, I was definitely more on the left side of the political spectrum early on in my life. Not too far left, though. My time in the military definitely allowed me to experience the world outside of my community and ushered in a fresh perspective to everything that I've experienced and believed. It was during this time I discovered and tested my own morality and values, yet I still didn't identify as conservative until December 2019 after my supporters repeatedly told me that it was where I aligned. I finally decided to give a look into it, and sure enough, it was spot on.
He switched to the dark side, Sean! He switched to the dark side! Not quite, Drew. He kept an open mind and found a set of guiding principles that aligned with his core values and beliefs. It's called being a free thinker, Drew. Maybe you should try it sometime. So, Topher, in my opinion, Donald Trump has been one of the best presidents this country has ever seen. He's kept his campaign promises, he's restored the economy, he's defeated ISIS and brought peace to the Middle East. I mean, the list goes on and on. But I'm curious to know, what do you think is President Trump's most important accomplishment so far?
The biggest and most lasting impact President Trump will have on America is his record of appointing almost 200 federal judges, including 3 Supreme Court justices, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and now Amy Barrett. He's now responsible for 25% of active federal judges today, and that will continue to champion equal rights and conservative values until he's done.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's so important that we restore constitutionalism to the courts and kick out these partisan judges who care more about advancing liberalism than anything else. I was thrilled to see that Trump nominated Amy Barrett. I think it was a phenomenal choice. She's going to catch hell from the Democrats in the coming weeks, but God willing, the Senate will vote to confirm her. So let's get into some social issues now. The endless drumbeat from the liberals in Washington, D.C. and the media lately has been that America is systemically racist. How do you respond to this, and what are your thoughts?
What system exactly? Generalizing the entire system doesn't hold up to scrutiny when not every black person is affected by it. This makes me believe that the real issue may be something totally based off individual actions, when most of the time it is. So often when looking at disparities though, 2 things happen. The first is the hasty assumption that every disproportionality within the black community is due to our skin color. The second one is the default comparison of black versus white. They specifically avoid using Asian or Indian Americans as examples of success in this so-called white supremacist institution because it shows that white people are not as powerful as they believe.
And so what about this whole defund the police movement? This entire campaign is based on the narrative that systemic racism exists within America's police force. And the only real way to combat that, they tell us, is through defunding. What are your thoughts on this?
Defunding the police has to be one of the most, if not the most dangerous agenda being pushed in a time where criminals are being empowered in democratic states like California and being propped up by the BLM movement. There's ample studies and empirical data that shows an area with more of a police presence experiences less crime. The whole concept of over-policing is unsubstantiated when the real issue for places like Chicago is that there isn't enough. Notice how, as always, the people living in gated communities with private security telling everyday hardworking Americans how we don't need the police. Homicide is the #1 leading cause of death for black males up to the age of 44. That's absolutely ridiculous and disheartening. Our most vulnerable demographic needs the police. Think about them the next time you decide to get rid of what some consider their only means of deterring crime.
You see, Topher, this is why the people love you. You have a knack for combining raw, factual data with just common sense. Of course I agree with you, and I would just add that I think it's absolutely disgusting the way police officers are being treated nowadays, due in large part to the Black Lives Matter movement. I think many Americans need to wake up, smell the coffee, and realize that these officers are there to protect us. They are not our enemies. Well, Topher, you certainly did end up triggering me, but Sean and I really appreciate you coming on the podcast anyway. Where can people find you online?
Too easy. You can find me anywhere on any social media platform at TopherTownMusic. That's TopherTownMusic. Or you can visit my website today at TopherTown.com, where you can find more information about who I be.
Perfect. Well, Topher, listen, it's been an absolute blast, and I can't thank you enough for taking the time to be our very first guest on the podcast.
Once again, I just want to give a big thank you to Sean and Drew for bringing me on, especially as their first guest. This has been an amazing time, and hopefully we can do this again, right? But thank you all, and catch y'all later.
All right, talk to you later, man. Bye-bye. Well, for a first episode, I think that went pretty well, wouldn't you say, Drew? Well, yeah, as good as it could have gone anyway. I watched my new pet turn into fish food, got pooped on by a bird, twice, and had to change my diaper in the middle of your commentary, but other than that, it was okay. I agree. We'll definitely have to do this again sometime. Hey, don't forget, if you want to send us a question to be answered live on the podcast, feel free to email jasonveely76@gmail.com. That's JAYSONVELEY76@gmail.com. Until next time, folks, this is Sean and Drew signing off.